Our first presenter is what we like to call a thriver. So someone who's not just surviving breast cancer, but thriving. And so from the Breast Cancer Supportive Care Foundation, we have with us tonight Eulalia Fernandez. Eulalia doesn't feel comfortable using the term cancer survivor to describe herself, but has absolutely no problems instead with cancer cowgirl. I'm not sure. You'll have to explain that to them. I won't even try. Eulalia is a teacher, and when she isn't marking, she loves to go to the mountains and enjoys leisurely hikes. One of her favorite pastimes is sitting with a good cup of coffee and chatting with a friend. She is a self-confessed foodie, although a bit reformed one these days, and loves trying different ethnic dishes. She's excited about an upcoming trip this summer to Spain and France, and her first trip after completing her treatment. So that'll be quite the venture. And yeah, is most looking forward on her trip to the coffee and the food. So if we can give her a round of applause for Eulalia. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to use the podium just to have somewhere to put my notes to begin with. So hello, as I've already been introduced, my name is Eulalia, and I want to talk to you about my struggle with fatigue and how exercise has helped. I thought I would start by giving you a brief history of my treatment so you have an idea of what my journey has been like. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in August of 2007, and through the process of staging it, an ultrasound discovered that I had some masses in my abdomen as well. A further surgery revealed that I also had Hodgkin's lymphoma, which was a recurrence from when I had it when I was 16. At first, I was treated concurrently for both, with 12 rounds of chemo every 2 weeks. I found it particularly grueling, as I would get my treatment, and about 4 days later, I would develop a fever that left me totally spent and last about 24 hours. Then I would recover, just in time to inject myself with Neupogen to bring my white blood cell count up, so I could have my next round of chemo. One of the possible side effects from Neupogen is bone pain, and I got it. So again, the pain left me unable to sleep and get the rest that I needed to prepare for my chemotherapy. I stayed as active as I could during my treatment by walking on my treadmill, but I found that each cycle left me feeling weaker and more tired than before, to the point that I can tell you that there are 14 steps from my basement to the main floor of my house. I had to count them for motivation as I climbed them, and then sit and rest, or even better, lay down once I reached the top. After the 12 rounds, my oncologist recommended a rest before starting on Taxotere, but I knew that if I stopped with the chemo, I wouldn't go back to finish it, so I received 3 rounds of that right away. By the end of treatment, in August of 2008, I was so weak that I had to brace myself to get out of the car. I would lean my head on anything I could to hold it up, and in fact, I picked up the habit of walking in my home with my head on the wall, just to kind of rest it on something. And I felt stiff, tired, achy, in short, crappy. I also turned 40 during my treatment and would joke that 40 may be the new 30, but 40 with chemo, it's the new 50. So I had nowhere to go but up. For the first few weeks, I felt great. It was wonderful not to go through the cycles of chemotherapy, but very quickly I discovered that things were not well. One of the chemotherapy drugs affected my lungs, leaving me short of breath with any minor exertion, and I was not able to sleep for very long or very well. I reached out to anything and every possible aid to help me feel better. I saw a fatigue nurse, I participated in the I Can Sleep study, and I worked diligently on walking. I used my treadmill because I also discovered that I had no warning signs to tell me when I was getting tired. I would be walking, and then all of a sudden my energy levels would crash and I would have to stop. A very scary thing when you're away from home. This was a particularly difficult time for me because I would try so hard to exercise in order to feel better, but more often than not, I would end up in bed feeling worse. and my sleep continued to suffer. I saw it as the price I paid in order to be alive, and this went on for a few months until I saw Dr. Taylor at Breast Cancer Supportive Care in order to set up a plan for my return to work. She took one look at me and told me I wasn't ready. First, we worked on my sleep. She prescribed trazodone. I struggled with the idea of taking a pill to help me sleep, but a good friend and fellow cancer cowgirl, as we called ourselves, helped me to put it in perspective. I had to choose my battles. I couldn't fix it, and I needed my sleep, so I took the pill. I also joined a Yoga Thrive class, and before it was known as Yoga Thrive, and although I found it challenging, I call my version of tree pose, tree swaying and wind pose, it's more accurate, and my downward facing dog, it was really, really bad. But I was pleasantly surprised at how much better I felt after a few classes. Some of the stiffness and aches that I felt improved. I still participate in the Yoga Thrive program today, and I love it, although I still struggle with that downward-facing dog. My sleep also improved, but I still felt tired all of the time, and I knew that I needed to improve my level of fitness if I wanted to improve my stamina and also lower my risk of recurrence. A good friend of mine gave me the name of a personal trainer, Lana. When I met her, she asked me what my goals were. I thought about it and answered that I wanted the maximum impact for as little effort as possible. She laughed and told me that's what we all want. What I meant is that I wanted improvement without the crashes that I was experiencing. I had been afraid of hiring a personal trainer because I had been warned that I couldn't push myself too hard if I hoped to recover from my fatigue, and all I could picture was Jillian from The Biggest Loser. Lana did not do this. She really understood that it's not about pushing through the pain or fatigue when you're a recovering cancer patient. We went very slowly at first, and she nailed what I needed to work on, always made me check in with how I was feeling, and adjusted my program accordingly. Working with her, I accomplished in 3 months what I couldn't do on my own in over 6 months. My strength improved, and as I got stronger, I felt less tired. Proof of my improvement? I felt confident to go hiking with my friends without fearing that I would run out of energy. Now, I've never been a serious hiker. A perfect hike for me is short, scenic, and with a barbecue at the end. But I really thought that I wouldn't be able to do that again with how I was feeling. So, with a great sense of joy and accomplishment, I made it to the top of Ptarmigan Cirque, even after my initial horror of having every senior pass me on that trail. But I made it, even though I spent the next day in bed. I returned to work on a very part-time basis in the fall of 2009. I'm a high school teacher, and I returned to the classroom teaching one class. I was thrilled to be back, but it was a difficult adjustment for me. My teaching skills were rusty, which stressed me out, and I found the mental work that I had to do very draining. My body felt heavy, and like I was wearing a suit of armor, and I had to force myself to do anything. In retrospect, I had a difficult time focusing, and I felt nauseated and achy, but I couldn't see it until it was pointed out to me by Dr. Taylor. These are typical symptoms of cancer-related fatigue, and when I ignore these signs, it usually leads to an energy crash where only bed rest restores me. I have learned to pay heed to these symptoms and pull back when they appear. I have found that many things can bring them on. Poor sleep and trying to fit too many things in one day are big triggers for me. But I have found that mentally challenging tasks or having a bad emotional day can lead to them too. It is as if I don't have a large buffer for dealing with physical, mental, or emotional challenges. This year, my goal is to improve my cardiovascular fitness. I had my fitness level tested at the Thrive Center and had a fitness routine designed for me. I walk on my treadmill 3 times a week for different times and at different intensities. What I like about this is that it's not complicated, it doesn't take a lot of time, and it is tailor-made for me. It's too early yet to see any improvement, but it's going well so far, and I am hopeful that my energy will improve. Although I am truly happy about the amount of improvement in my energy and fitness, I admit that I am often frustrated by the limitations that my fatigue imposes on me and how slow my improvement has been. My improvement has not been linear. Although overall I'm much better, I still have crashes and periods where I just have very little energy. This paradoxically interrupts my sleep, and I just feel too tired to exercise, which exacerbates the problem. These downward cycles are difficult because I wonder if this is as good as it's going to get, which further affects my energy levels, which leads to problem sleeping. You get the picture. I have learned that when this happens, I need to start again and not give up. I remind myself that I want to prevent a recurrence of the cancer and that I want to live well. And then I just take one step. I start again. I tell myself to put my running shoes on. Then I tell myself that I can stop the treadmill whenever I want. I can exercise for only 5 minutes if I want to. Usually I find that once I start, I'm able to follow through on the program. And if I don't start, I don't beat myself up. I try again the next day. To look at me, you probably can't tell that I struggle with fatigue. And so people question if this is real or if I use it as an excuse, which is frustrating and also leads me to sometimes think that maybe I'm not trying hard enough. I'm encouraged by the acknowledgement that chemo-related fatigue exists, but more than that, that there has been so much interest in coming up with solutions to this problem, and that something as simple as exercise can make so much of a difference. I have high hopes that my energy will continue to improve and that the number of crashes I experience will continue to decrease. I don't have lofty goals of climbing a mountain or competing in marathons. My goals are simply to be able to return to work full-time, continue my version of hiking, joining a dragon boat team, and eventually doing a good downward-facing dog. Thank you.